Generation Chrysler 200, only out on the market for 2 years, was cancelled under Marchioni's orders because of sales that were seen as lackluster. However, the Chrysler 200 might not be the failure that Fiat thought of it to be. If we see the Chrysler 200 sales in another perspective, we see a potentially ignored winner that was simply positioned in the wrong market segment. So let's see what went wrong with FCA's positioning and target consumer base with the Chrysler 200. The Chrysler 200 is a mid-size premium sedan that dates back to an updated version of the second-generation Sebring sedan in 2007. Fiat had little money to spend on Chrysler after they rescued Chrysler from bankruptcy, so the 200 was introduced as a heavily modernized version of the second-generation Sebring sedan. Since this vehicle was introduced right after bankruptcy and restructuring, sales didn't pick up till at least a couple years later, but the 200 caught on, and in 2012, the first-generation 200 had its peak sales of 125,000 vehicles. Because the 200 was seen as a stable seller, FCA decided on making an all-new second generation. For the second-generation Chrysler 200, FCA designed an all-new vehicle on FCA's state-of-the-art compact wide platform. The final product was a very robust and elegantly designed car that was very promising, well accepted, and highly praised by the public. Initial sales of the 200 was impressive, with Chrysler selling 177,000 vehicles in 2015. That was a 34% increase in sales compared to the older model. Unfortunately, that's where the happy story ends. In 2016, for some reason, the 200 hit a low of 57,000 vehicles sold. FCA immediately decided to cancel further production of the 200 to free up factory space and investment towards the more popular Ram truck line. The last Chrysler 200 rolled off the production line in December of that year, leaving Chrysler with only two products, the 300 and the Pacifica. Now here's the big question: why did the 200 fail? As a vehicle, it was very well thought out in design, and it even had initial success. This question can actually be broken down into two factors. 1. The Chrysler 200 was positioned in the wrong market segment. 2. FCA didn't give the new 200 enough probation time after sales initially dropped. First, the Chrysler 200 was positioned in the wrong market segment. FCA positioned the new Chrysler 200 as a bit more premium competitor to other mid-size sedans out there, such as the Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, Chevrolet Malibu, and Ford Fusion. This means that FCA compared Chrysler 200 sales with that of competitors. However, this is the problem. Chrysler was never really a mass-market brand. For FCA to introduce a mass-market vehicle through Chrysler, which was still perceived as a luxury brand, and expect them to suddenly be able to compete with the sales of much larger rivals such as Ford, Chevrolet, and Toyota is a bit unexpected by consumers. Consumers saw Chrysler as a luxury brand. Therefore, they didn't associate the 200 with other mass-market competitors, although the pricing and package was definitely one that reflected mass-market targeting. This targeting of the mass-market segment by FCA is what discouraged them into continuing production of the 200 when they saw the sales numbers of competitors, which were much higher. However, here's what Chrysler should have done in hindsight with the 200. Chrysler should have loaded up the 200 with more luxury features and sold it as a luxury car. This way, FCA could make more money per 200 sold, allowing them to justify the lower sales compared to the mass-market competitors. Also, by seeing Chrysler 200 from a luxury vehicle's perspective, it should have been one of the biggest successes in American automotive history, as the 200 sold 177,000 units in the first year of the release of the new model. To put that in perspective, Lincoln sold 34,000 MKZs at its peak, while Cadillac sold 38,000 ATSs at its peak. Even Buick with their premium Regal sedan could only achieve 40,000 units at its peak. Comparing the sales of all these luxury competitors, Chrysler's drop down to 57,000 vehicles could still be seen as still being the most successful of the big three American brands. That means that the Chrysler 200, although a loser in the mass market segment, was a huge winner in the premium luxury segment. The wrong positioning of the Chrysler 200, which led to the wrong translation of its sales, was the first reason why the Chrysler 200 was seen as a failure. The second reason why the Chrysler 200 was seen as a failure was the fact that FCA canceled the 200 a year after the sales slump, without waiting to see if sales would pick up later on. This could be seen as a rash move by FCA, who dumped much capital into the development of the new Chrysler 200. FCA should have at least waited a couple years to see whether the sales slump was a temporary one or one that was from a flaw in the model. The quick cancellation of the Chrysler 200 made it one of the shortest-selling modern Chrysler vehicles by FCA, with a short run of 2.5 years. FCA should have at least tried harder to earn back the investment they invested into the development of the 200. But in hindsight, we can also see that FCA was looking to free up factory space for production of the more popular Ram line of vehicles. This may have pushed FCA to cancel the Chrysler 200 too soon. FCA also hinted for a partner who could build a Chrysler 200 for FCA. However, the talks fell through and the 200 was canceled. FCA's cancellation of the Chrysler 200 was too soon when it still had potential. FCA's later quote of the Chrysler 200 and Dodge Dart being the least financially rewarding enterprises is ironic considering how the Chrysler 200 was wrongly positioned. The Chrysler 200 was a very good car that was not positioned in the right market segment. Also, FCA didn't give the 200 enough time and energy to sort out its issues. Had FCA positioned Chrysler in the luxury segment by making it a bit pricier and adding luxury features, we may have just had a winner. Sales of the 200 in its last year of 57,000 vehicles was still more than the number of Lincoln MKZs, Cadillac CTSs, and Buick Regals sold. It's unfortunate to see Chrysler lose one of their few cars in their very small lineup. I hope to see Chrysler make a 200-like vehicle again in the future and make it properly this time. We all know Chrysler could do it if they wanted to.